random intro. Hello, everybody. Welcome to what has taken a long time to do another episode of Waking Shift, but I'm happy that we actually get to do it, and I think this proves a more natural schedule. We shouldn't force like a weekly or bi-weekly. Kind of going to be a whenever we can all get together thing, and we'll just leave it in the past as it goes along. So I'm John, right? This is Todd, and then we have our
Hi.
guest here, Mr. Josh Watrous of Kingsville, Texas, currently.
How's it going?
Our resident gym owner here, which I'm very proud to say, because we've been having those
Thank you.
conversations for a long time. Dude, we've been chatting about you
Yeah.
needing a beard. You need a beard. I see your goatee. That's why you need a good full beard, man. But
Right.
no, we've been chatting about the gym for like a long time, dude, and it's really badass to see
Yeah.
that you got it.
What's crazy about it is like I think I have been talking about it forever, or I guess I never really thought of it as being like as something that I was always working towards until recently, like the last couple of years. But when I started getting closer to opening and people started realizing like, hey, this is kind of a real thing that you're doing now. People like that I've known for years, like you, or people that I've known way longer too. They're like, hey, congratulations! You always talked about opening up a gym. Never really,
You never thought
really
about it,
even
right?
considered that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I guess I kind of have, but so it's always kind of been a dream. But until recently, I never made the decision to be like, this is what I'm gonna do for sure. And that's kind of where it started for me. Even though I guess, according to everybody else, it started for me years back. So yeah, I'm just like super, super humbled, super grateful, super happy to just be doing it. You know what I mean? And whether it becomes a success or not, it's kind of I've kind of chalked it up to being like everything's a learning experience.
Yeah, for
And
real.
so if this one doesn't work, which it seems to be right now, you know what I mean? We're going on 3 months strong despite the pandemic.
Yeah, and that's something that I was gonna say too, man. Is that like you had no hand in the timing, but what a crazy time to jump in the fucking water, man. Like,
yeah, and what's even crazier is we were supposed to be open like 3 months before. We were trying to open up in December, and we just had so much trouble with the city. Then again, them,
oh,
wink.
it's messing up. Give me a second. Give me a second. So what
We had
happened
so
with
much
city?
trouble with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, you're good. And
Okay.
so
Yeah, we had so
they
much
let you
trouble
in
with
now,
the city.
right? It was a door and all that stuff. It was like policy stuff.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I mean, they kind of after the whole pandemic hit, when they started doing shutdowns, they kind of got lenient on more things, especially like with time frames. But we had so much stuff to do, and we finally were able to get our inspection in March, and we failed the first inspection because we had to put like a cushion on a pipe, and then we had to cut the grass and move a couple pieces of sheet metal that weren't even exposed. But so we failed that inspection, and
That
the guy
sucks.
came back a
That's
week
like so
later.
frustrating.
And when he came back and passed us, they had just Governor Abbott had just released a statement saying that they were shutting everything down. So we never got to open before the shutdown, which was kind of a bummer because that's when our rent started. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So we're still paying all these bills, and then we didn't have any revenue at all for almost 3 months, 2 months, something like that. And when we finally got to open, though, I mean, within the first day, we had 50 people at the door.
Dude,
So,
yes,
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That is something that goes to show, right? Because I've heard that before, like where people will say is like, oh, you've always been about that. That's always been kind of what you do or what you like. And having known you for as long as I have, I would say that the gym is the way that we've kind of like one of the ways that we became friends.
Yeah, that's true. I think I've made a lot of friends like that, honestly.
And I think that's why people say that it's something you've been working towards, because like you as well, and I think that's what made us like partly friends. We have that positive gym attitude, right? It's not about going in there to showboat for no reason, right? It's about going in there for health and knowing how your body works and understanding how you work physically and how you can get stronger and how your body is unique to you and how you should work around the shit, like work around your craft. A lot of people don't look at the gym that way, you know. A lot of people.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, because I mean, everybody's different. You know what I mean? And I see a lot of times and especially with like these fad diets and these tailored workout programs, right? Like for your body type or whatever that means. People assume that like it's gonna be the best thing that you can do, and just because it worked for somebody doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work for you. So then you get people that immediately get discouraged because they're listening to a story of someone saying, "Oh yeah, I lost 30 pounds in
Yeah.
2 months, and
Yeah.
I put on this much muscle, and I did this and that doing this," and they start trying it, and it doesn't work for them at all. And they can't seem to figure out what the problem is, and then within those first 2 months, they're usually you know, out of the fitness game, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
You can't blame them either because it's
I
hard. Like,
think I think fitness is important in the sense like of being healthy, but going to the gym isn't for everybody, and that's something that I understand. And when we were opening up the gym, it was this gym is kind of more tailored to like an old school nostalgic feel where everything's it looks grimy, but it's not grimy. Like I don't want people to think that we're dirty here, but it's kind of
well, you had to start somewhere,
an
dude. And
old
that's
school
one of the better
gym.
properties in that area. Like, I remember we had talked about the properties in
Yeah.
Kingsville, and I mean, that's a lot of good stuff that you can get from there. I mean, even though it's like you say, it has a little bit of a grimy touch, I guess. I wouldn't go as far as to say that it looks bad. And that's what's
No, not at all.
and your touch
And
actually
we
makes it
actually
look
get
better.
compliments on our cleanliness, and but yeah, I mean it's just like I said, well, the name is Old School Iron STX, so
Oh
it
yeah,
kind of gives you the vibe.
hell yeah, it
But
does.
and I think a lot of people were looking for that in this area because everything gyms have gotten so commercial and so corporate, and they're trying to please everybody that the kind of old school lifter and people that just wanted to work out in the heat of the day, they kind of got pushed aside, and it was like, well, we'll give you this little garage room over here where y'all can do that. But instead, this is the whole gym is kind of tailored to that, and so we've gotten a real positive feedback. Of course, the whole town's not going to be rushing into a warehouse gym, but the people that are here seem dedicated, and everybody has a positive energy. So
Well, that's the
I think we're
demographic
doing all
you're
right.
going for, though. Like that's the group that I feel like that's the type of group that you've always been chasing a bit. Because I don't want to say names of the previous gyms, right? You want to avoid that, right? But anyone who's listening to this
Yeah.
knows the names of the previous gyms. They can imagine. And yeah, there's definitely some difference between how a gym treats you, and you can see the philosophy of a gym in their policies, man. Um,
Yeah.
like that's why I was really hopeful. When I go through, I definitely will stop by Old School Iron and do that. I see your mute there. So
I was gonna say he meant place having
oh wait, you're cutting up.
look
What
and
happened?
feel. I'm cutting out.
Yeah, but you're good though. Yeah.
Okay, so he mentions like the gym having feel to it. I don't think that's like you said. I don't think it's a bad thing. It actually shows a character. Like
Yeah.
place has a vibe and a feel to it. You mentions it having old school kind of vibe.
Hey, so check your
Feel and
compressor. I think your compressor's a little too heavy. It's like cutting you out. But that vibe, that old school vibe, is the right thing though. Like, because I got what you were saying. Is like that old school vibe is something people miss. Like it has a character all on its own.
Yeah, and it really does. And I think what we're really trying to preach here too is not preach, but we're really trying to promote is kind of just a positive accepting vibe too. You know what I mean? Like people of all demographics have come in here, and you would think, and I've heard it from different people, like, oh wow, it's crazy you have a lot of women in here. You know what I mean? My mom said that, like, wow, it's crazy you have so many women in here.
Nice. Your mom
And then
visited. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, no, she hangs out here a lot. She comes by quite frequently,
Good.
but yeah, so like women was a big thing. Like it was like, well, how are we gonna cater to these women who are used to air conditioning and things like that? But it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. And then like the older crowd too. We have a couple people that are well into their senior years, right? And they
Yeah.
just despite the pandemic, they're coming in and trying to stay healthy in their own way. And of course, everybody's being safe and things like that. But it's it's kind of a blessing to see everybody's
Especially in these
kind of
times.
getting along, and yeah,
Yeah,
especially
especially in
during
these
that. Yeah, and
times.
it kind of brings a sense of community when everybody's so disconnected. You know what I mean? And so like so timid to be around people in general. You know what I mean? It's a hard atmosphere to navigate because you go into a store that you used to get great customer service, and now all you see is eyes glaring because you can't see anybody's face with a mask, right?
Yeah, man.
And then
For
they don't
real.
say anything. They don't want to talk to you. Nobody wants to breathe on you. So it's kind of, we've lost this personal connection with everything that we do. But we try to keep that here, and of course, not get in anybody's 6 foot radius, right? But
Just to kind of give
at
them that
least still be
feeling, though.
friendly and kind of respectful.
Yeah, yeah. Todd, check yourself. Want to hear you?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me? I hope this is better.
Yeah.
So this is better.
Yeah, it is. It's
I messed around
perfect.
a bit.
What was happening was anytime you dropped a little bit in conversation, it cut you out. So like we only heard the louder parts of your chat.
I got you.
But yeah, we're gonna.
Go ahead.
Do you have any questions for him? I can talk to this man all day.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing I wanted to ask is what has been the most challenging part about opening through obviously the situation that we're kind of in? Has it been getting your customers, the people that are going to your gym to kind of understand the vibe and understand the social distancing, or has it just been you said you had like 50 people at the door, which is awesome, especially during this time, right? I just wouldn't expect that many people to show up or like sign up very quickly to be in a gym, which is great, right? Because obviously people want to stay healthy, want to be healthy, want to have that sense of community in a time like you mentioned. The mask, in a sense, does disconnect us because we don't want to talk to each other. We don't want to breathe in each other's faces. Obviously, we shouldn't be doing it. But what's been the most challenging thing from that perspective?
Oh yeah. You got someone there. I was gonna say is like the mask is such a trip too because
I got you.
Shit. That was great. Now that's the true gym atmosphere right there.
It's the only way it works.
I know for sure.
I don't know. Podcast right now.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Do your thing. Do your thing. Answer when you can.
So, yeah, like you said, John, the mask.
So to answer your question, I guess the most difficult part has been, I mean, really, we're just worried about people coming in. You know what I mean? About keeping the people re-signing and feeling safe, and so we're going through a lot of cleaning supplies, a lot of paper towels, napkins, things like that, of course, because everybody's wiping stuff down regularly. And then just making sure that we sanitize it, at the end of certain time frames and rushes and things like that.
Has it been hard to convince
But yeah,
people?
I mean, the biggest worry has just been if people are gonna re-sign up, you know what I mean? And then with the recent flare up too, we're kind of worried if people are gonna renew their memberships. Because now they are worried, where before they weren't really, you know what I mean? This area wasn't really getting hit too hard, and now people are actually starting to get worried, and it's
concerning.
Just it's throwing everybody for a loop.
It's so weird. Sorry,
it makes us paranoid, but I think we're the people that we do have are pretty dedicated, and so I don't think we're gonna lose too many. And I think that's a good thing too, that old school atmosphere kind of gives us, is like the people that are here are actually dedicated and trying to get workouts in regularly. So despite everything going on, they're gonna come in here and do what they want to do.
Yeah, because you've created that space that other places, like I said, these more commercial gyms that are tailored to these fad kind of diets and maybe like exercise routines that I've, as someone who has been to a gym previously, I definitely saw that all over the place, and it's like I can't get anything in because everyone's being social, right? Which is nothing wrong with that.
Oh my God,
I'm glad that these people have a place to go when these other places don't serve their style of workout.
Has it been hard to convince the people, man? Like, is it hard to convince the people that it's all right to go, or?
Not really. So like we really haven't done too much marketing, and being what it is, I mean the gym itself is kind of located in a weird spot, kind of off the radar of everybody. So the people that come in here are here to be here. You know what I mean?
They're looking for it. Yeah.
We're not really trying to convince anybody or pull anybody in from anywhere else, but we've just kind of, like I said, on social media, just kind of built the community and advertised who we are and what we want to do, and people just kind of show up as they feel it, I guess.
That's awesome, man. Because I was really worried, to be honest. Like, I haven't gone to the gym in a while, and that's not because I don't want to go to the gym, but the gym I'm at up here, like, we're in a higher hot spot. There's a lot more people who are sick in the area. And so for me going to the gym, it feels a little bit more concerning. But I think in Kingsville, like where it's smaller, you know what I mean, you have less of a chance. At least now it's starting to spike, which is a concern. Which brings me to my next question. I'm curious, how do you feel and I'm about paying your gym membership when your gym's closed? Like,
Oh yeah, see that's a no.
yeah, see, so
Uh,
how do you feel about that? I'm curious.
well, just charging people for not using the gym in general is kind of has always been like a moral problem for me, right? So like a lot of gyms, what they do is, and almost everywhere now, they sign you up and they give you, and I'm not trying to brag or boast or anything, but they sign you up and they give you an annual fee, right?
Yeah.
Right up front, and then they give you your membership fee. And then they tell you that if you're going to cancel your membership, you have to give them a 30-day notice, which in that time frame they're going to charge you again,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what they're doing. They're saying, hey, you're going to have to pay for another month before you leave. That's why they're giving you the 30 days.
Yeah.
So, and gyms do that all over the place. The gym that we took over pretty much used to do that. And, not to talk down on anybody, but what we wanted to do when we opened up was not do any of that, just pay month to month as you go. You can sign up for auto draft if you want to, but if at any time you choose to cancel it, then you can. You know what I mean? We're not trying to tie anybody down
Yeah.
to the gym and make them feel like you can't go anywhere else, or you know what I mean? The people that we want in here are people that want to be here.
Yeah.
So for somebody to to force you into a contract, or to charge you a bunch of money up front so you feel obligated not to leave, to me that's just it's bad practice, really. And it's really good for a business, you know what I mean, because you guarantee payment, you guarantee customers, and you're guaranteed a bunch of money right up front. But I mean, in our 3 months that we've been here, I mean, we've made a decent amount of money, and we've sustained ourselves on just charging people for the time that they use the gym.
That's good.
And we've already discussed that if we do close down, we're just gonna shut off everybody's payments right then and there, and we're gonna roll everybody's accounts to, like, let's say you had 14 days left on your month. Well, when we do open back up, you're gonna have 14 days, regardless of the day of the month, whatever it is.
Man, so that's really honest of
that's
you.
Easier said than done.
Yes,
but,
yeah, and that's honestly, I think that's the way it should be. But I understand, like, so give you an example. One of the reasons why, so I paid for my gym during like the 2 months that I didn't use it. And the reason why I did was because I was like, well, we're going into COVID mode. Like, almost nobody has a savings. I really doubt the gym saved for this. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna kind of leave that there to hopefully fund like getting all the new supplies, moving stuff around. Because you have to do some. Thankfully, the gym did do some work while the gym that I'm at is they basically have like an army of bottles. We walk in and rather than having a bottle to clean with, everybody has a bottle to clean with. And so and when you drop them off, they have a station where they clean them all off, and then they have they have them cleaned and sanitized for people to come pick them up later. And so like they have a person kind of just focused on that. And they have, what sucks is that they have machines marked off and stuff like that. So like treadmills, right? Like every other's marked off so that you can't run within that 6 feet distance.
Right.
And so like I've helped it for that, but then now since I'm probably not going to be going, I'm really just doing cardio, man, like cardio and basic workouts at home. I'll probably end up cutting it off. But I feel like gyms, that's a really big conversation for gyms, is like, what do you do? Because Abbott says he's not going to shut down, and I mean he's been like that. He's been phobic of the shutdown ever since we first went in it. And so I don't think we're going to go into a shutdown unless hell come like high water, man. As high water hits, and it sounded like this last time it was getting really close for Abbott to shut down, but he must have read some information that stopped him from pulling the trigger or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's a really interesting conversation for gyms, I think, is what do you do with the membership? Because I think the way you're doing it is the honest way to do it, and I think that's the way to do it. But I know that there are not even gyms in Kingsville. I'm talking about chain gyms, right? The ones that are in every city.
Commercial gyms.
Yeah, commercial gyms. I really doubt
Like
they're going to
larger.
stop. Yeah, I really doubt they're going to stop payments, I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine that at all. Like Planet Fitness is still going to take your $10.
I was gonna say that when I previously gone to the gym regularly, a local gym here. Yeah, I had kind of had a family issue. I had a family crisis going on, and I didn't go to the gym for probably a good 2.5 months. And during that time, they had actually called me and said, "Hey, is everything okay?" And yeah, they said like, "Hey, don't worry about the payment, right, for these 2 months." And I thought that was a really great practice, because that kind of thing fosters these organic relationships and loyalty with your customers and your customer base. So I think that this is honestly, that's probably the best way to go about it. Because like you said, why on earth are you going to, these people want to be there, why on earth are you going to force them to be there? Just let it happen organically and foster that loyalty.
Exactly. Yeah, and then we just just treat everybody right. You know what I mean? Just have a good time. I go to a lot of gyms, and I feel like or used to go to a lot of gyms. Right now, I'm pretty loyal to mine now.
I'm about to say, I imagine you're pretty loyal to yours now.
But I would go to a lot of gyms, and like the people would get mad almost when you would walk in or when you would be using equipment, and it's like, what is it here for? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Or people who obviously like and like who obviously didn't work out, or obviously were there for eye candy, you know what I mean? That didn't have an association to the business, right? That they didn't really feel involved in the business. And you kind of got that feeling when you walked in. Like it was that I don't do this stuff, you do. Go work out. Like I was like, what the hell? Like you want someone to greet you like, "Hey, you're here to get a set in? Get in there, brother." Like, you know what I mean? Like you want someone rooting you on when you walk in.
That's a big thing too. For me is like I'm all for personal training, right? Like you want to pay somebody to train you, like you want to pay me to train you, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like it's all part of the business and the industry, but but like what we kind of try to do here is we if somebody just needs help or says like, "Hey, how do I do this?" Like first thing I'm gonna do is say like, "Yeah, here, let me show you how to use this." And my girlfriend Brianna, she's already put workouts together for a few people, just kind of written like, "Hey, this is what you should be doing if this is your goal." You know what I mean? And it's all like, it's not an additional fee or anything. It's all, included.
Part of the gym. It's part of the gym
exactly.
experience.
Like you want to learn how to use this equipment. You want to learn what to do to use this equipment. Then yeah, we'll teach you. All day. Yeah. So, and then a lot of gyms, like the first thing they'll do is, "Oh, hey, you need some help? Let me sell you a personal trainer." You know what I mean? Especially like big corporate gyms.
Yeah. And sometimes those trainers, man, like are kind of the same people we're talking about. Sometimes they're people who are not as invested, or are there for the business market aspect of it, and
yeah, exactly.
There's a huge business, in gyms. So I'm kind of curious. So like, do you see any of these changes? So like, did you have to change the layout of your gym at all? Did you have to modify anything?
No, we were pretty fortunate to we had a pretty spacious layout from the get go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a massive warehouse.
None of these none of this equipment is like on top of another piece of equipment. You know what I mean? And that was kind of when we bought the equipment from the gym that it was previously at.
Yeah.
It was such a huge cluster because they had such tight spaces and tight, corners that they just kind of jammed everything into. So when you went in there, none of it was, I mean, not none of it, but a lot of it wasn't usable, and
especially if someone else was using
but
it.
It was uncomfortable to use because you're tucked into a corner, or you're right next to something else that if you move your leg too fast, you might hit it.
One of the things I remember was the shoulder press. There was a shoulder press at that other one where, like, for you to help me with the shoulder press, your back was against the wall. Like, you know what I mean? And for me, clinking, if I push back, like the wheels are gonna hit the wall. You know what I mean? Like it's
exactly.
So
when we got it here, the major goal for our layout was how do we create the most space? You know what I mean? So there's a few machines that are like back to back that we kind of pushed out from each other a little bit, but for the most part, everything's pretty separated, and we haven't had too many problems with people being right up on top of each other. So
I was gonna say your gym does kind of like, I'm trying to remember because I was fortunate enough to walk through before it opened, and your machines kind of already are 6 feet like apart, not like really perfect, but that's a lot of space compared to where the machines were before. The machines were ridiculously cramped. I loved the machines you have. I just didn't like the space they were in before. And maybe that's what you're seeing part of too, because because yeah, not gonna say the name, but like I'm pretty sure that there was a fan base there that was disappointed over time for where it was
Yeah, and
before.
I was part of that too. I mean, so I was going there for a while, like from 2010 to like 2012. And then I left town for a while, and I came back, and that's where I was going. And I decided to leave there because it was just always so cluttered and messy, right?
Yeah,
And then when I left, they charged me for like 2 more months. And after I had repeatedly told them like, "Hey, I'm leaving,"
cancel,
and
close.
they charged me again and
Yeah.
again, so I had to cancel my card. And you know what I mean?
Oh.
It was kind of like thievery at that point.
Yeah.
So I kind of vowed that I was never gonna go there again. Went to this other gym, or went to a couple other gyms because the first one I went to closed down. And then we went to the major competitive gym in town, which we were trying to avoid for a while. And I was going there for, I mean, a couple years, I think.
Yeah, no,
And
for
then I
real.
just got tired of that. I got tired of that corporate kind of hostile environment almost. So we went back to the gym where we bought everything from. And first thing I noticed was they hadn't kept up with anything, and that's what kind of got me on the track to
Got you on the
to
hunt.
purchasing everything was like, hey, I went and talked to my boss at the liquor store, and I said, hey, you know, I this is bad. Like, I don't understand how somebody could let this gym go like this. And I told him if it was me, like, I would never, you know what I mean? I would never let this get that bad, and I would run it so much more efficiently. And he just told me, why don't you see if they're selling it? And that was the first time like I ever really considered like.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I told him was, I don't have any money. Like, I don't. Like,
Yeah, that's
what do
not
I
gonna
look
be a
like trying to
question
buy
you
a
think
gym?
of, right? Yeah, it's not gonna.
Or asking these people like, hey, are you selling this gym? And in my 1998 Chevy, like with the paint running off of it, right? And so I'm like, I don't know, like, why? I told him straight up, like, I don't have any money, and he said, and I'll never forget. He said, don't worry about the money. Like, we can get you money. Like, the money's not the problem. Just ask them if they're selling it. And if it's a good deal, then we'll go for it. If not, then oh well.
Yeah.
He's like, and then he told me, like, but it's all experience. Like, whatever the conversation leads to, you've experienced that now.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that right away, and I was like, whoa, he's right. Why couldn't I try to figure out how to get this money? Why couldn't I try to do this thing? And actually, instead of talking about it all the
Just
time and
doing
saying,
it.
hey, I really want to open a gym,
Yeah.
which was what I had done for years, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was almost on a subconscious level because I was like, I didn't even realize it. It was just like something I always wanted to do, but never really thought I would. And then once he told me that, I was like, you're right. Like, if
Yeah.
this guy really thinks that I could do it with no money and no collateral, then, because he's a prominent businessman. He's been a
Yeah.
president of a bank and things like that. So when he told me that, I was like, I guess,
Yeah.
you think I can, right? So
That was a good moment
that
too.
kind of
Seeing that was
started the
great.
process.
Yeah, no, seeing that was great. I had worked at said liquor store and med set man. So when I heard of this conversation, yeah, it definitely lit a fire under this guy. As a matter of fact, lit a fire under Marco too, which was
Yeah, I tried to get him involved, because just because he's so good with numbers and
to help you plan and stuff.
organization.
Yeah, I remember seeing all the
Yeah,
numbers in the
exactly.
wall,
So
all the details.
yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of help from a lot of people for sure.
I think it's because of that
You know,
inspiration, man. The way that you naturally, I think people give me that benefit towards mental health. I think with you, it's a natural thing with like fitness and that well being. I think people automatically when they think of the gym and like a positive attitude and a good environment, I think you're gonna pop up in their head because you spent so much time in the gym being like, this is a weird environment. Hey, what's up, man? Like you're just trying to like talk to people and get people to relax and chill and enjoy the workout and because when I
yeah,
first went to the competitor gym, one of the main competitor gyms, like that's really what it was about. Like it was about making sure that like everybody was chill and enjoying the workout, and that it wasn't about like competing against each other. Although we were playfully competitive all the time, but it's that playful notion of like pushing you to be better, not pushing you because I'm an asshole. Like
yeah.
it's like competing with
And I
Jaime.
have been to a few gyms though where it's kind of like the guy that you hate at the gym is ends up being like your best friend. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
After a while, so that hostility kind of nurtures that friendship. at the end.
That honestly, it
It was
does.
pretty funny.
It really does. There's something. So I'm teaching a lifespan development course, and I actually just went over this. I think I told maybe Todd, but
Yes.
yeah, rough and tumble play is perfectly normal for boys. It's so weird that like you get guys together and they're like, I hate you, and then like 12 hours later they're like, you're my best friend. Like it's so weird.
Yeah.
But I
That's
mean,
me and
It's
my
very true.
cousins in a nutshell.
yeah, for real, man. Do you have any questions, Todd? I'm just pushing through.
Yeah, well, actually, this is more of a comment. Like, I'm thinking about what you're saying now about wanting people to feel comfortable when they come to the gym. Because, like you said, sometimes the gym isn't for everyone. And when I started, a couple years ago, I've stopped since, unfortunately. But when I did start, I was obviously very timid. Like, I had not really worked out before. Like, I just ran. All I did was run because that's the only time I felt really comfortable because I was alone. But the gym that I did end up going to, I ended up fostering relationships with people that were there in the mornings, regulars, older people who were I was intimidated by because they were like these really built motherfuckers, right? And they were, coming up to me and saying, "Hey, you can. This is how you should do this. Let me help you with this." And I think that when you have people in when your customers understand your environment and they mold to it, they can bring people in on their own too.
Yeah, hell yeah, they can.
Their
Like,
friends or family, they convince them to come to the gym because they say, "Hey, this is a comfortable environment where you can safely improve yourself."
yeah,
And I think that's really great that's what you're doing because I've been to a numerous amount of gyms and most of them I felt pretty uncomfortable in just in general. Part of it's definitely me, but the one that I ended up going to last with, I really enjoyed my experience, and it definitely seems that you're trying to do that, and that's really really great. Because I would, if I lived in your area, that sounds like the gym legitimately I would go to, not just because you're here, but just because the way you're describing it to me and the way you understand what it's like to work out in a gym constantly with all these different people and understanding and seeing the problems and thinking I can fix them myself. And you know what? In my previous line of work, I kind of felt that way too. And it's really inspiring seeing that you've been able to accomplish this, and especially during this time.
hell
So,
yeah, man. Like
congratulations! Like I think that's just really amazing.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
the
And
freaking
like I said though, I mean, there's no way like I could ever say like that I did it by myself at all. That this is just my gym, right? Because I have my uncle's a partner with me financially, and then my girlfriend and I, kind of just built this whole thing ourselves, and
hey,
so it's been really
shout out to
rewarding
Bree
in
for
that
helping.
experience too.
Shout out to Bree
Yeah,
for
shout out
helping.
to Bree for sure.
I
But
definitely, Bree, if you're listening, I saw what you did with the upholstery, and I'm very impressed. That was awesome. And
yeah,
so no, but hey, biggest complaint at a damn gym is that everything needs to be reupholstered. Like,
yeah.
so
Well,
like
we did, we
that's what I'm
did,
saying. Like
right?
the fact that y'all did it, I was just like, all right, I'm proud because like that's really what it comes down to sometimes. But no, just
Yeah,
helping and being involved and I really appreciate because man, I'm not in Kingsville anymore, dude. If I was there, I'd be supporting you. You know what I mean? Like I'd be there as much as I could. Probably in a bubble so I don't get COVID, but like I'd be there as much as I could, and it just is really nice to see people supporting you. I'm not there. I'm glad other people are. If I could, I would. And there's another way too. Like even this, hopefully, some people in the area hear about your gym and do it.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate it.
So I'm kind of curious. So how can you talk about the other position? Can you talk about the liquor side of things?
The liquor store, yeah. I mean, as long as I don't give any numbers, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. We're not going to go into detail, right? But uh,
Yeah,
has
it's my job.
has the liquor business changed for you? Like, has that been different? Because I mean, I imagine sales have like you don't got to go details, right? But I imagine things have trended what up, right? I mean, people drinking more
Yeah,
nowadays. Like, how's everything?
definitely. It's hard to it's really hard to kind of figure out where the numbers are exactly. But the biggest difference now is with bars being closed. So we service like what's
Mm,
called a Class B license, which is we have the ability to deliver to bars and give out those tax exempt bottles, right, so that they can
mm-hmm.
serve them and
Mm-hmm.
be taxed at their locations. And with all that shutting down, like people have been coming in the door like crazy, because they don't have any bars to go to. So before we were delivering product to all these bars and restaurants around town, and people were just going there and drinking, right, and then they would go home and have a few beers or whatever. But now they're getting all their hard liquor and they're taking it home with them
Yeah.
from the liquor store.
Yep.
So the sales, like the retail side of it, the regular retail sales have kind of just skyrocketed, but we lost all that bar business as well.
Oh, okay.
So in the end, the consumer is really saving money, right? Because they were going and buying $5-6 drinks, and now they're getting, you know, 15 of those drinks out of, you know, a $30 bottle,
It's a huge return. It's
right?
a
So
huge return.
yeah, and I mean that's kind of what people that, you know, buy liquor have experienced forever, anyways. But people
For
spend so
real.
much time at the bar and kind of like seeing that change in sales and the community. You know, when the bars did shut down, and really you can kind of just feel it everywhere. Like people just want to go out, right? They want
Yeah.
to socialize, and in
Yeah.
a small town like this, that's kind of what everybody does, is they just go out to the bar, you know, if they're of age.
Yeah, that's all we did
So,
there, man.
you
Like we'd
know,
always just go to. I mean,
and now those people, they're just kind of like they don't know what to do, so they're out throwing parties at home and getting trashed because now they're drinking way more for
Way
way
more than
less
they,
money. You know what I mean?
yeah, way more than they usually would in an evening, I'd imagine.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense though. Like, it's so weird to see how alcohol gets this exemption in society. You know what I mean? Like you'd think that we're like, okay, you can't drink and drive. You can't. You got to be cautious. Can't have an open container. It's not. It can never be delivered. But up here, I there's apps up here where they'll deliver liquor to you in Austin. You know what I mean? Like the governor's like, you know what? Screw it. To go cups, it's like. What? You know what I mean? Like,
Were they delivering liquor before the
no,
pandemic and everything?
no.
So that was just, it's kind of just like but they have to be like restaurants, right?
Yes, yeah. It has, so to
Okay,
go
yeah.
cups are, well, no. So deliveries can be from a liquor store. So from what I understand, a liquor store can send you liquor.
Nah, we're not doing that.
No, for real. I understand why you wouldn't. Like that's way too much. But in Austin, you can see
Yeah.
how competitive it is, how many stores there might be, and how people need to get ahead of it. And I think what's happening is I think that they're partnering with groups that bring you groceries and stuff. So that
Right.
way, it's not the liquor store bringing it to you; it's an intermediary that's supposed to take you the alcohol. You know.
Yeah. And
So
is that something that was specifically addressed by the governor, where they said they would allow that, or
that's what I need to look
because to
into
my
because I've seen the
understanding,
advertising for it.
and those, oh, okay, yeah, because my understanding that you have to have like a specific $10,000 license to
Probably.
be able to deliver liquor. So maybe, I mean, I doubt that like an individual driver would obtain that license, but maybe somehow through the company that
They
they
work for
deliver
them.
with, maybe
Yeah.
somehow they have the proper licensing to do that. I would hope so, anyways.
And so it's
But
you do realize that
whatever.
you work on both ends of the spectrum, Josh. You help people stay healthy and wonderful at the gym, and then you also fuck them up at night.
Hey, well, Arnold Schwarzenegger used to drink, man.
Yeah, no, for real. There's nothing wrong with drinking, no, by all means. But it's from my perspective, it's the psychology of it, because that's one of the. I mean, I know that might not be what y'all think about all the time, but when I worked there, I really watched the people, man. You know, like watching the regulars in the morning is very different from the person who comes at 8 p.m. when they're about to go party. You know, there's two very different
Yeah.
people. And I always during all this, I was like, man, I wonder how like the liquor demographics are. You know, like how are the regulars? Are they still doing all right? Like how are they taking this whole pandemic stuff? And have you gotten just way more people just coming over, right? Which I imagine it is, but yeah, I do wonder how the bars are gonna how they're gonna recoup. I'm glad y'all aren't suffering. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate enough to have a job through all of it, so
it's just crazy to
can't
think
complain about that.
alcohol is essential. Like it's just
When I heard it, it was like immediately. I think everybody's response was the same. It was like, I get it, but really,
yep,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yes,
I
agreed.
get that it's essential, but really, like,
and that's
you
my
know, if we're
thinking
trying to
too.
shut everything down, like, come on.
And
But
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you're with me on that because like I got it before, right? Because talking about some people, right? There are some people who literally need alcohol to survive. Like they've been drinking so much that their body needs it. So So we're beyond the conversation of you should stop drinking. It's the damage is done, and we're just continuing this forward. Like
Yeah, we're keeping you
we're keeping you
stable
good. Yeah.
with this medicine, you know.
Yeah, which is the body sees as food at that point. So I understand that part of the essential.
Yeah.
But the to-go cups, like, you know what I mean? Like the to-go cups, it really feels like Abbott was just trying to be like, look, nobody get crazy. We're still on this cruise ship and everybody can drink. Open bar. Like, you know, like he was trying his best to calm everybody down. But there's a lot of people, man, that drink, and it really concerns me because right now we need a strong immune system. Like right now, we need. Doesn't mean you can't drink, right? Everybody should have fun every now and again, right? Of course, but I think with all this stress, a lot of people are going to be inclined to drink a shit ton, right? Especially like you were saying, you go to a bar and it depends on the bartender, and even then, you're paying $5, $6, $8 a drink, and it's like what, a shot's worth, a shot and a half, right? Maybe 2 shots with liquor in there, like liqueur. And now you're paying what, $12, and you're getting the full bottle, like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, depending on your taste, I guess.
Depending on what it is, yeah. Or it could even
Yeah.
be
But yeah, I mean,
less.
and a lot of the lower end stuff is what's been selling, you know what I mean, and throughout the market. But we have seen though, and to dive further into like the liquor industry in general, like
Sure.
supply chains have been disrupted by the whole pandemic. You know what I mean? There's been entire distilleries that have shut down and probably shut down operation for 2 weeks to a month because somebody tested positive. And then you have problems with the deliveries because somebody at a warehouse tested positive or somebody uh, on the driving side tested positive. So there's all these different variables that come into effect and
Yeah.
kind of at any point in that supply chain, you know what I mean, from the distillery to the distributors to the wholesalers to us, you know what I mean, at the liquor store. And then, you know, if bars were still open, there'd be the risk factor of transmission between the liquor store
And the
and now
bars.
the establishment.
Yeah.
So anywhere in there can be, you know, a huge problem, and then it results in us being out of stock on like 30 different products on any given week. You know what I mean? And it doesn't come in on the truck, and they don't have any explanation for why it's not there. They're just like, well, we're out. We're out. We don't have it on back order. We're out. And so throughout this whole pandemic, we've been out of. I mean, I would venture to say maybe 50 different products that
Oh wow.
might come and go. You know what I mean? And that's kind of probably lowballing it because when you factor in the wines that we don't order, the beers that we don't order all the time, a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff we probably can't get.
And that's just
So
it's such an odd thing to think about. Like one of the things I really like, so as a human being, I am concerned about coronavirus. As a scientist, I am fascinated, right? Because like this really highlighted the supply chains, man. Like the meat crisis that we avoided a little while ago. For now, hopefully it doesn't come back, right? But the meat crisis we avoided. Um, uh, there's a bunch of stuff that just have been broken from supply chains. Like that's even affected hunting. You can't even get guns anymore in certain like academy. You can't get a shotgun. Good luck. Like all the supply
like they're
chain.
just out of stock, or
Yeah, out of stock.
right?
Out of stock. And I'm talking about for hundreds of miles, dude. Hundreds of miles, you can't get a shotgun. And that's just because supply chain, man. Now everybody's like, oh well, now everything's a little bit more small scale. I want to make sure I can protect my family, or whatever it is, and like everyone's buying these honestly for the right reasons probably. And now it's all out of stock. So Texas, it's hard to imagine Texas out of stock of shotguns, like in the sense of like the academies, the broad academies. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, when would that ever be? Like, so I imagine like anything that's not in Texas, we're probably seeing a lot less of, right? Things that are further away. And anything that's not like major, like I imagine it's like we're not gonna stop seeing Jack Daniels for a bit, like I imagine. Like, but we'll see. Like that's the dangerous thing. Like we'll see. Do you?
I was gonna say. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it. You could.
I was gonna say that you were talking about like not receiving some product. I've seen online from quite a few like breweries, distilleries that they've just completely shifted to making like hand sanitizer and stuff. So I imagine that some places you just won't get anything because they're not making liquor anymore.
Yeah,
You know?
no, that's a big thing too, and that's a whole weird area because it's like, what business do you have making hand sanitizer? You know,
And that's one of the
so a
things.
lot
Like,
of them, they. What's crazy to me is the first one that we received was from a company, I think called GSD, and all they did was they put it in a liquor bottle. So
They put the hand sanitizer in a liquor bottle.
Hand sanitizer in a liquor bottle with a new label, and it looks like hand sanitizer, or it looks like liquor, you know.
Do you think? That's crazy. So like I've noticed that too. So I don't know if you've noticed this, Todd, but like at HEB, they actually have at HEB they've actually started making all these crazy amount of hand sanitizers. So now what they didn't have hand sanitizer, it's not Germex, but it's this other brand that's like just being sold ridiculously.
I know. I've purchased it.
Yeah, I have it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a really strong scent.
Yes.
That well, like I know obviously alcohol, but like it has a strong scent that's I don't know. It just I don't know, it just smelled off to me for whatever reason. But it works. It works.
Yeah, and it's because I feel like a lot of random businesses have been kind of switching to make certain things like hand sanitizer, and it's really odd to think of a distillery because it's kind of like what Josh was saying was, what business does an alcohol distillery like have making hand sanitizer? But I guess someone somewhere was like, hey, you know what? You make ethanol like you make alcohol, so I guess you better start making this because we were in a shortage. I mean, and I'm glad that we got. I mean, how crazy, right? For like the people, Bounty and all that for toilet paper and for hand sanitizer to be like, we're out. like Clorox. So when did Clorox ever think that their wipes were going to be sold out everywhere? Like
never.
Like it's such a weird thing. Like who would go back in time and be like, hey, make sure you guard Germex, Clorox wipes, toilet paper. Like who would ever think that those would be the things that we lost out on? But are you serious, Josh, that it came in an alcohol bottle?
Yeah, it came in. It looks like a liter of vodka.
Please tell me you still have one.
We probably do.
Oh man!
If I could get a picture, please. I gotta know that's real.
So it's the craziest looking thing, and the first thing. So our computer tech guy comes in regularly, and the first thing he did when he looked at the bottle, he's like, "Are you serious? Like, somebody is gonna drink this."
I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
Someone might accidentally pick it up and they're like, "Why is it so syrupy?" That's fine. I'm still gonna drink it.
Oh God. Imagine someone pouring a sloppy vodka shot of Germex. Like,
gotta clean my insides.
Well, people, oh man, don't even joke like that. People do that though. Like, so hard addicts will drink isopropyl from the freaking CVS. So like hard people will drink that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone would accidentally drink Germex. Yeah, Todd. People who are desperate and don't want to pay those prices will drink isopropyl.
I know somebody who did that in high school, and it didn't end up good. I don't think. I mean,
no, it can.
Doesn't sound like a good idea. It does not sound like a good idea.
Hell no, there's no way it can be a good idea. Like that's not going to work out whatsoever. So, no, it's really interesting to see some of these businesses just kind of turn around a little bit. The fact that everybody's doing drive-through. I mean, it's so cool that you all have a drive-through at the liquor store, man, because that's a game changer too. Imagine the difference between, what the owners thought was just like a nice little perk, probably. Oh, we have a drive-through. That's right. Cool. But then we switched to this.
With a huge competitive edge. I mean, first and foremost, it's like if we offer a drive-through and the competitor doesn't,
that's it.
Imagine. You know what I mean? Like, imagine the people that don't want to get out of their car. Yeah.
Yeah.
In total, we have 3 throughout the company. Yeah.
Oh wait. You mean the other town, right? Or
yeah.
And so
there's one over there too.
That's badass. So
that's a huge thing that was a huge thing. It's coming to play a lot for safety too, because now people are starting to utilize the drive-through more, so we don't have to, come into as direct contact, or they don't have to spread their germs all over the store, right? So
yeah.
Kind of works out perfect. And then we've had people have y'all had any experience with like people in stores like trying to get in without wearing a mask now that it's mandated? Have y'all been out at all?
I haven't seen much of that. I've seen people who do it, but it's like 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those actually, like just kind of seeing in the distance, at like another checkout line or something, and I just see them kind of throw a little fit. I think the only thing that's kind of like interesting to me is when like the first time I went out to buy groceries, and I was all decked out, right? And I was telling John, like, I take a separate pair of shoes, that way, I walk around out in public and then I leave them in the car. And then when I come home, I wear a separate pair. And then I remember, like, I was getting all these dirty looks, because I was wearing gloves and everything. And I'm like, I have family that are in the medical industry, and I want to take care of them when I see them. So for me, just having people look at me weird about that was just really off-putting.
Yeah.
Especially like I remember the first time I went, grabbed all the stuff, bought groceries, brought it back to my car, and I was doing the change of my shoes. There was this guy getting out of his car, like 2 slots next to me. He just looked at me, just like, "What on earth are you doing?" I'm like, I don't really care what anyone thinks of me. I'm just taking care of myself.
Yeah. It's being cautious. I haven't seen anyone really fight that stuff. I haven't seen anyone go. I wish I saw more people being cautious, kind of like you are, Todd, because at least that would show that they understand the amount of germs that are in the area. Because I see so many people who just don't understand the theory of, like, it's simple germ theory, dude. Like, I feel like unfortunately this is going to scare a lot of people. But at the same time, I haven't seen a Karen. I haven't seen anyone blow up. I haven't seen. I've seen like the startup of it. I've seen people like the weirdest one I've seen is Whataburger. Whataburger here is actually shut down inside. Like it's just there's no inside.
Just drive through.
Yeah, just drive through, which is not the same everywhere. Alice was open for inside eating. I drove through Alice like a couple weeks back, and they were open. So it's not the same for everywhere. So up here they were closed, and I keep seeing like people getting off and confidently walking to the door, like, yeah, man, I'm gonna eat inside. They open the door and it locks on them, and they're like, what the hell? And they're like, what's good? They look at each other and they look at the sign that says drive through only, and they kind of scoff off and they run to their car, and they don't go to the drive through, they go somewhere else, like that.
They just leave.
Yeah, they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a pride thing.
I
I've
haven't seen more. Yeah, that I totally get it too, but I haven't seen anything intense. I haven't seen any reactions. Have you?
Yeah, we experienced one just this week.
Oh wow.
This guy came in and swore that he couldn't wear a mask, right? But he's walking perfectly fine. Said that if he put on the mask, that he would pass out in 2 seconds. And I was like, well, that's strange, because if you're that restricted on your oxygen, you probably shouldn't be walking around, and you probably shouldn't be exposing yourself to anything.
Yeah.
Because you're the highest risk person I've ever met, if that's the case.
Yeah, it's the most danger.
But he insists that he can't wear a mask, and he's flashing around his phone, waving it in the air, and trying to shove it in your face. Like, oh, look at my doctor's note, and
no,
it's just being ridiculous, right? Just being confrontational.
Yeah.
And so the investigator that I am looked him up on Facebook. Well, let me backtrack for a second. He messaged us on Facebook just the other day to the liquor store and quoted a passage from the like the ADA guidelines on discrimination for disabilities, right? And then at the bottom said that he was saving his encounter with us, that he had been discriminated at one of our locations, and he recorded it, documented it, and he gave it to his lawyer. And if he faces this discrimination again, that he would be taking legal action. And at the first fine for discrimination is like $75,000, and the second, every fine after that is $150,000. And initially, I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Why would you go that far? Yeah, why would you go that far?
So then the investigative journalist in me took over, right? And I'm like, well, what's this guy's Facebook about, right? And of course, I mean, you can probably guess, politically who he supports, I'm sure. But,
yeah, unfortunately.
But it's all this anti-mask posts, all these these facts, right, about how masks don't work and they actually make you sicker.
Yeah. No.
All this pseudoscience,
jargon.
right?
Yeah. All this stuff.
Yeah, that people are looking at scenarios, not looking at experiments, but they're looking at scenarios in which you could justify saying, well, it's unhealthier to wear a mask in this instance, right? And then they're trying to use that across the board and say that they suffer from that condition, or that they, and then it turns into like, well, you're taking away my rights. And it's like, no, dude, you could do whatever you want just when you come into this establishment, because the governor ordered it for the safety of everybody in here, not just your selfish ass.
Yeah.
if you could just during the time of your visit, if you can please put on a mask. That's it.
Yep.
But you want to turn it into like somebody's violating your civil liberties, and you worry about what they're taking your taxes for. Don't worry about
Yeah,
them making
for
you a
real.
mask. You know what I mean? Like,
Don't worry about this. Like, and I really
yeah,
think that this is like, honestly, man, it's just that people don't like people like feeling like they're in control, and that's one of the things that's weird about the United States is that like we're a bunch of individuals trying to walk in the same direction together, and it really is awkward because we don't want to get too close to each other. We want to be individuals. We want to have our own control, and rights are a big thing. And I'm real sensitive to the notion of rights being taken away, but like this isn't your rights being taken away. This is no shirt, no
no,
shoes, no service. You know what I mean?
exactly.
If you don't got no,
Exactly.
if you don't have this basic stuff, then we're not going to serve you. I mean, there's no difference. If you walked in without
Yeah, and
shoes,
then
I'd probably say the
yeah,
same stuff if it was that big of a deal. Like, and even then, most people are. Only reason why we're pushing on this is because of the health issues. Like, it's not even. Um, I mean, I think honestly, man, it comes down to like control and masculinity. Some guys don't like the idea of wearing a mask. I honestly think it's the unfortunate reality that some of those things, I swear, it looks like a damn diaper. The blue ones, the ones that are everywhere and disposable. And I honestly think that's what some people are worried about. And I have to admit, that's one of the things I was focused on too at the beginning. I was like, man, I look like a ditz in this freaking mask. Like if I'm like if this is gonna be the everyday thing, I want a mask that I'm gonna wear every day. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
So you're gonna go look for a mask that's fitted to you, or a specific color or
yeah.
whatever. You know.
Notice it's the same logic for getting a shirt or shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta wear a
Fashion.
shirt.
Quite literally.
Fashion. You know what I mean? So finding a mask that suits you and you feel comfortable with, I think is part of the process now. It's just people are getting mad about like, well, I already have to buy a shirt and shoes and I have to say hello and now I gotta wear a mask. I'm like, yes, like this is part of working with people, man. Like, especially in this situation, because it is weird when you look at the stats, dude. Like, most of the confirmed cases are between the ages of 25 and like 55. Most of the fatalities are between like 65 and up. So like the people who are getting this are the people who are getting tested and surviving aren't the people who are dying. The people who are dying are the old folks. And I honestly think we're gonna end up seeing like we're gonna end up finding people in their homes, and we're gonna end up finding people, later on, and the numbers are gonna switch. And it just really sucks that people can't get that in their head. Like it's not just for you, dude. Like it's for you, your family, and the old guy down the street that you never know even existed. Um,
hmm
but good luck getting the United States to do that. We're so individualistic here that we're too busy worried about our rights that we can't kind of see the middle ground. And that's not to say that the conversation about rights isn't an important one. Like that you should always listen to that. But it just sucks that they're adding these stupid arguments to this. I'm like, look, the right conversation is one thing, but the mask doesn't belong there, and people are just using it and twisting it. Like they're using it to bend your arm to make you feel bad. Because in America, if you say you're stomping on my rights, everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like, what did
Yeah.
we do? Like, let's make sure we didn't remove this guy's free will. Um, but no, dude, like a mask is no big deal. Like, and it makes people comfortable. Like, it's like saying hello or good morning. It makes people happy that you even bothered to try. Because I wear a mask in the drive-through, man. Like, I put the mask on when I'm about to pay or when I'm about to get the food. And like it actually makes the person kind of comfortable because they're already covering up and they're not giving me anything. They're worried about me giving them something. So I put that mask on and they're real calm, real chill, happy. Um, you don't, and they're just like, here, get your food, get out of here. Like,
Yeah. Just
yeah.
piss
I was
off.
gonna say, have you done like the the sample without it? Like, what does that turn out like for you?
I've done it where I forgot because too many you go to the drive-through so much that before COVID that you never had to use a mask or anything.
You
So
don't you don't think about that thing at
yeah,
all.
I forget. So there's sometimes where I'm just like on the phone or something, and like it's when I turn and I start talking that if I don't have my mask, I feel like it makes them uncomfortable, and then I realize it too, because like I'm talking, I'm like, oh, thank you, and I'm like, oh crap, like like just by even
Yeah.
talking, like I've just thrown a bunch of stuff your way, like whatever. Um,
Well, you're probably more conscious about it than most people, honestly, because you know what I mean about your breath and the distance that it travels, and
it's
exactly what you're doing when you're speaking.
yeah, no,
And
I
a
feel like
lot
I
of
have
people,
to.
they don't care because they don't know and they
Yep,
don't otherwise understand,
yep. And it's basic lack
The
of
other day I
germ
walked into
theory.
a Subway without a mask and like got kicked out immediately, right? But it wasn't intentional at all. I just walked in and the guy was like, "Sir, you need to leave," like pissed off, right? And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let me
Yeah.
walk out and grab my mask real quick," and tied a t-shirt around my face, right? Because I had forgotten it at the house.
Give me a second, please, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
And
I got
then
someone here. Y'all can keep chatting.
I got you. So I would say that like it's because I think some people like you just forget because it's not some people haven't put it into their routine yet. So like I think as it was better to do it as early as possible. Like I was already practicing it just the moment I realized that things were happening. Like cleaning
yeah,
all my groceries coming in. Like I have like a table and a tarp on the porch, and I'm cleaning everything, and it's tedious, and it sounds like I'm overdoing it. Um, but like I mentioned before, I got family in medicine, and I gotta do everything I can to keep them safe. But it's definitely a thing where you forget because you have to put it into your routine because if you don't have it's a healthy habit. It's a healthy habit. It's just habits I think people
yeah,
need to have. And if some people, like you said, you forgot, you totally just forgot, and I think that's totally fine because we're human and
yeah.
we just have to learn to understand.
Yeah, and it's a new behavior that we all have to, become accommodated to really because at this point, like who knows when we're gonna stop wearing masks, you know what I mean? So now you see
Yeah.
like, and I've thought about it too from a business standpoint, like, do I start selling masks? Do I,
Right?
Seriously
Yeah.
right?
though,
Like, do I
you
put my gym
should.
logo on a mask and now that's merchandise that everybody wears,
Yes, I really think
because
you should.
everybody's wearing masks now. Why not?
That's a good idea, to be
But
honest.
then yeah, but then honestly too though, because I mean, obviously we discussed, the honesty in my business practice that I try to keep, right?
Absolutely.
At what point are you capitalizing on, the issues right at hand?
Mhm.
Like at what point are you just trying to monetize, the pandemic?
Right.
And so I kind of try to veer away from doing things like
Yeah.
that,
Good on you
but
for doing that.
shit, I mean, if it's gonna be around for a year, 2 years, right, that everybody's wearing masks, who knows?
Well,
Then why not?
that
You
kind of
know?
brings me
Yeah.
to another question I thought about, which was, do you think that these behaviors are going to stick with us for a while? I kind of think that they are. I mean, there's a whole generation. We're already going to go. I mean, it's guaranteed. We're going to be talking and hearing about news of Corona when it's been a year. So in December, we're gonna it's gonna be a year that we've been hearing about Corona, and it's going to be a year that we've been preparing for it and we're under it. So like by that time, there have been kids born who are a year old,
Yeah.
who have their whole beginning is in coronavirus time. And if at least it sounds like this is going to go on until 2021, 2022, right? Like in the sense of being aware of it, right? Hopefully with us getting control of it over time and hopefully pushing through, it's not going to be as heavy, hopefully. Because like New York is quieter now. Like New York is not as intense as it was. It's really like we're experiencing the after the like it's like they had a first wave and we're calling this a second wave, but this is really our first wave. This is really our really big hitting against the wall. Um,
Yeah.
and New York's chilled. New York's calmed down after this. It's still it's not perfect, but it's opening up slower and it feels a lot more normal from what I can hear. I think hospitals in that area have closed COVID wards.
Yeah.
Um,
Some have completely. Yeah.
yeah. So and in London too, where this hit intensely fast, right? They're closing wards too. So if we get ahead of this, I think that we're going to be able to kind of get by it. But I think like I'm pretty sure Todd's going to be wearing a mask for a long time after after they say you don't have to.
I think it's just going to become part of my wardrobe, man. Like you said, I'm going to find ones that just match with what I'm wearing, and then that's
Yeah,
just going to be it.
we're gonna
You
have
know?
that. We're gonna have that Vera Wang mask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be fashionable. You know what I mean? Like, oh damn, you got that new Versace mask? Like,
There you go,
you know
dude.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
For real, like
It's insane.
I saw a meme where it was like Dad, please stop, and it was like a dad with a matching tie with his mask.
And then
Yeah,
yes. Oh yeah.
and he's
Yeah,
like, "Hey, look, we grow old, but the drip don't stop, right? Like
Yeah.
we gotta look great. We gotta look damn great." And yeah, I really think this is gonna grow with us, man. Like, I know people hate comparing to China in the sense of like, look, China's its own thing. We got some real issues with China, some imaginary, some real. And that's an issue that we got to worry about. But I feel like people they look at they see pictures of China and they see
how people wear masks, right? And I think they see the mask as like, oh, it's communism. Like they're trying to get you to do what you want to do. And like, no, man, like it's to make this in this context is to make sure that our brothers are safe. And that's really what's happening over there too, that they're concerned. They want to make sure that you're not getting sick, that they make you feel more comfortable because they're wearing a mask. But I wonder how long this is going to go with us. Like, are we going to see back to school masks? Like a back to school sale with like
you're gonna get all your superhero masks. All your Marvel's gonna put out their masks, right?
Yep.
Right.
You have your Batman
All
logo.
all the kids are going to be comparing it in the schoolyard at a distance.
Yep. SpongeBob masks.
Yep.
All that. So
You can see a
yeah, I mean,
Fortnite
it's
mask.
gonna be around for a while, at least through that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Longer than the fidget spinner.
That's
For sure.
is that the measure? Is that the measure of worthiness? Right? Did you last longer than the fidget
Right.
spinner?
Hey, because that thing was around for a little while, and it was the most idiotic thing I had ever seen.
And then
like,
it just disappeared off the face of the earth.
No,
Kind of.
I'll tell you where it
I
resides.
had like 2 of them,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it resides at flea markets. Right now, flea markets might be a thing of the past for now. But the one that we had in
Yeah,
the
they
valley,
were in Stripes, they were in HEB,
Everywhere.
Walmart had them. Like,
yup,
ridiculous.
it's so nuts. And
Like-
so, unfortunately, yes, this is gonna live longer than the fidget spinner. I definitely, thankfully, my girlfriend mocked up, made one for me, made a couple to kind of, and it's like basically matching, right? If I have a black one, a gray one, and like a more white one, and like if I need to switch them out, I can, and I think that's what people should get used to, is just the fact that it's a nice thing to have. To make everyone feel comfortable and make yourself feel comfortable too. I feel a little bit better when I'm at HEB and I have a damn mask on. Like, I think it's a little bit psychological too, like in the sense of you can't see the droplets, so you imagine that it will help. It's not perfect. It's meant for others, but I think it has a psychological effect too, man.
I like wearing the mask. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm actually very comfortable with it. It doesn't bother me at all. At all.
There's
I
some
could
kid
prob- I
everywhere.
Like when a mutual friend of ours went to we went to the park a couple like last week. Yeah, I just wore it the whole time, even though there was no one around us, right? And I could have totally just taken off and just breathed some fresh air, which I did at some points, right? I stopped and like, okay, I can breathe. There's no one out here. There's nothing out here. It's literally just me and nature. But I wore it the whole time, and he was like, "You don't have to wear it the whole time." I was like, "Yeah, but it doesn't bother me. Like it
Yeah.
really doesn't."
Yeah. And it doesn't. I forget about it too. Like when I go to the drive-through, so I see people pick up food from the drive-through too, and they are, some people have the masks on, right? And then what they do is that they grab the food, they put it away, and they drive away. And I see them do the mad like throwing of the glasses, but throwing of the mask. You know what I mean? Of like, oh god damn it, they toss it. I'm like almost home. And like I have it on still. I just forgot. You know what I mean? I'm just like la da 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 da. I'm like, oh yeah, like I just put it away. Like, it doesn't bug me as much. But I guess that there's just some people who they see it as like the government controlling you. I guess they have that perspective. But I'm just glad I'm not that way.
Have you seen that meme? It says, and I'm
No, you're fine.
no way racially charged on this comment, right? But it says like, white people say that they can't wear a mask to go out in public, but during hunting season they got this whole thing over their face, right? And it's like the full camo, like hanging off of their face, and it's like, wait, yeah, like, and what brings that up is like, so I hunt and fish, right? And sometimes I do that in the cold, sometimes I do that in the hot. So depending on what you're trying to wear for what purpose, like you might have one of those face masks that's real thin and like just rides up over your face, or you might have a full like baklava, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that covers your whole face. And I'm used to wearing those face masks a lot because I do fish and I do hunt, right? And just even when I'm outdoors, like I'll just pick up that face mask and just put it over my nose because it feels good for some reason, right? Like you say, you just feel comfortable in the
I
mask.
feel totally comfortable in
So
it.
I'll notice like I'll take my mask off.
Hey, but do y'all have any shirts for sale still?
We will next week on Monday.
All right.
Yeah, we'll have them here for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good to hear. I like hearing that.
But yeah, so like I'll pull up that face mask, and when I notice like sometimes when I'll get out of like the liquor store, right, and I'll take the mask off while I'm walking to my car across the parking lot, and about halfway through the walk I'll put it on again because like the sun is bothering my nose or something, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, I'm just wearing it, like just like for whatever purpose, even if not for safety. Like
So
I
you
just
walk
find
out.
myself comfortably putting it on, you know.
Yeah. You walk
And
out, you
so
take a
like it's
breather, and
kind
then
of
you just put it back on again.
yeah, and yeah, like when I'm physically active, sometimes it does get like
Frustrating.
in the
Yeah.
way, right, of your breath. But for the most part, like so this mask I have right here, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, I can see
Yep.
it.
What I call it is a face chones because like it just feels like nice underwear material.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah.
it's super nice, but it's like double or triple layered, but it fits over my face, like kind of drapes over everything perfectly, but it still gives me like enough room to breathe comfortably. And so like when I'm breathing heavy, like it'll like
Yeah, coming in and out.
kind of in and out, right? But because it's a flimsy material, but other than that, like I never have problems with it. And so like these people, and then there's masks that they make that like cup away from your mouth. They never touch your mouth, and they give you plenty of room. And then there's still people complaining. It's just like
That's why it's about control, man.
They have options. They just don't want.
Exactly. It's
take
about
them
the
up.
principle, which is really just this is the psychologist in me talking, but it's just the control, man. People fixate on control. They and in the United States, we even if it's not on our terms, we like to think that we agreed to the terms on our terms. And unfortunately, in this context, that's not what's going to be able to happen. We can't really just allow everybody to do what they want to do in the sense of the masks, at least, because it's gonna hurt the economy. It's gonna hurt everything. Like if you don't want to wear a mask, you're gonna hurt the economy. If you want the bars to open up sooner, wear a mask. If you want all this stuff to open up sooner, wear a mask. Because the sooner we isolate the virus, the sooner it dies out in the person who has it, in the sense that they get over it and it's done. Like then we can actually interact with each other, because we just need everybody to be beyond it. But the trouble is, while that person's getting sick, they touch someone's hand or they talk to somebody, and it just goes and goes and goes. And this just goes to show how many people didn't watch like the Magic School Bus in the morning or something. Like this just goes to show how little people really know about science. They think they have an idea of what science is, and then they don't really. I think now, hopefully, people get an idea of what science is truly trying to do, which is just make everything safer for everybody. Let's lead with facts. You know what I mean? Like, which is just so hard. It's so freaking hard to do. But I'm glad you said that, because it is true. I saw that meme, and like to make it less racially charged, we could say hunters versus not hunters. But I think honestly,
yeah, they could have put hunters, but no, they put white people.
I know. And to be honest, if we were to flip the demographics and say, well, how many people hunt, it probably would turn towards Caucasian folk. But still, still, it comes down to like control, the willingness. Like you said, hunting. You're going hunting, so the mask might help you to cover your face, or to not be seen by an animal, or to shade you from the sun, or whatever it may be. It serves a purpose there that aligns with what you want to do. So that's why you're like, screw it, I'll just put a mask on. But for someone who
so then not wearing a mask really is like a big fuck you to everybody else.
Yeah.
Because the purpose.
Yeah.
Like it's a choice that you're making. The purpose. Just like, me covering my face when I'm fishing. I know that I don't want to wear it all the time, right? Because you're out there in the heat and it gets kind of hot. But I know that I'm covering my sun and my nose from the sun and my mouth and everything else. So there's the purpose, right?
Yeah, yeah. But so many don't get it.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
So you know that you're wearing the mask for safety, for public safety. Why not do it? Right? Like there is a reason. You just don't believe in that reason, which is telling me that you do not give a shit about anybody else.
And that's the thing, man. Go for it, Todd.
I think also people just I think people just don't understand that, like, things that you do to make yourself healthy, or to keep yourself keep yourself alive, sometimes they can be just not comfortable, but you still have to do them. You still have to sacrifice certain things for yourself and for others. And I just see the mask as like, this is the easiest thing you can do. It's so easy. It doesn't interrupt life, like, in my opinion. Granted, you did say earlier actually, I keep remembering that you talk about the disconnection, but ultimately it doesn't disrupt daily life around you.
Well, that's the adaptation, man. Right. Like what a lot of people don't realize is that way back when we didn't have like APHIS or cops as even though the cops are a whole other discussion, right? But generally speaking, cops can be a force for good. in the sense of at
Right.
least keeping some sense of a status quo. Um, uh, I think that, you know, back when you didn't have any of that stuff in place, when you would walk up to somebody, you would have to scream out like good morning or good afternoon, because what you're basically doing and saying that is like, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. Like, I'm not an enemy. Don't worry about me. And I really think that that's what we have to do nowadays. Like, when I have the mask on, like, I'm a little bit exaggerant of my features. Like, when someone says, like, when someone's walking towards me, I'm like, hello, like, you know, like from a distance, so that the person can kind of get like, oh, this guy's, don't have to worry about that guy. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm just doing that. Or I try to be expressive with my face, to like get people to realize, no, I'm just going about my way. Because a lot of people can't read you now. Like, they can't, you might not think about it, but the muscles under here, the muscles in your mouth, like, people do
They
look
control
at
so
that.
much facial expression.
Yeah, and you can make someone feel comfortable with that. If someone doesn't get you, but they like, if you're smiling at someone while they're talking, you can kind of get like, oh, they're with me, they're aware, they're on point. Like, if I can't see your face, I don't know how you're reacting to certain stuff. And so I think that definitely breeds. We're gonna have to adapt a little bit, in how we communicate, and it's gonna
I
be
think also like you said, for people that want to know, or if you're going somewhere in the service industry, you go into a drive-through or something, you want them to know that, like, hey, like, I'm not a threat to you. You don't have to worry about
yeah,
this interaction being a danger to you because you're at work and I'm just coming to get food. I think it's a white flag.
yeah.
I think in a lot of ways it's a white flag for everyone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, peace. I'm not trying to get you sick. And those little research experiments of like, someone who was COVID positive, cutting hair, and the person wearing a mask, and the client wearing a mask, and no one got COVID. Like, it's just, it's a simple thing of just wear a mask so that you can go ahead and make people feel comfortable, and you can actually make a difference. But the issue is, what people don't like is when you're saying, oh, it helps other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is they don't. Honestly, I was a little skeptical about I guess you would say believing in the virus, right? So I'm big into conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Um,
It's one of our fun
without
conversations.
diving too much into that, right? Right. But so when everything first started happening, there's obviously like a huge gain for somebody in power that wanted control, that would want control,
Sure.
you know, based off of everything the way we've responded. You know what I mean? We are a controllable species for sure,
Sure.
as a mass.
Sure.
Definitely. And so when they use fear to elicit that response of like, what do we do? And you have some almighty person saying, hey, this is what you do, wear a fucking mask,
Yeah.
right? Like that's when you get the people like, I didn't do like the whole like I never want to wear a mask, but there were certain things in my life that I was like, well, no, like I don't think we necessarily need to be reacting the way we're reacting. Of course, everybody buying toilet paper was ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
buying out of the canned foods, like we don't need to be reacting this way. Somebody's trying to elicit a response. Like
Yeah.
this is what's happening. Like somebody, whether it's the media, whether it's politicians, somebody is pushing this agenda because they want to, even if it's just to see the way we react, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me. It was like, no, like we are responding poorly. Like we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
controllable for sure.
Yep.
And I was really skeptical. And then of course there's all those videos of like New York hospitals where people were like recording outside the hospital saying like, look, there's no cars here, there's nobody in the ICU, there's nobody
Yeah.
really sick. Where is everybody if it's so catastrophic, right? And then you would see like a news outlet putting out, vans full of people, right? Like,
Yeah.
it just looked like a whole different scene. And so you don't know what to believe, and everybody's just kind of like lost, right? In their whole like ideology of the situation. Like, do I worry about public safety or do I worry about a tyrant government? Like,
Yeah.
what's the real fear here, right? And then, unfortunately, I know somebody that's passed away from COVID, right? And so
So do
it kind
Todd
of,
and I.
just
So
really recently too. So it kind of really hit home, and I was like, I've been following all the guidelines, of course, and kind of doing things the way they needed to be done, well, at work and then in my business also. But it's just been crazy. How's it going, man?
no, and to go off on that, like, that's one of the things that's been kind of nuts to think about too, is that how close to home this has gotten, and how the perspectives have changed over time too. Because I can totally get, Josh, I can totally get why you get that feeling, man, because one of the things I don't think people realized was how big the United States is. So I mean, from where I'm at, you can drive 6 hours in every direction and still be in Texas. And people don't get that. So people are like, oh, New York's going crazy. There's nothing going on here. We're fine. I'm like, do you realize that Texas is not a port of entry? Do you realize that Texas is a port of goods? Right? So we're not going to get this stuff quick. The people who are going to get this stuff quick are going to be LA, New York, Florida, right? You know what I mean? Those are going to be Seattle, which is where people are saying it came in, Seattle, that side of the country. And so I was like, guys, if we're going to get this, like, we're going to get this like delayed, and it's going to look very different. Because you're right, that concern, as much as I'm against extremism, but the conversation, no matter how stupid it can be posed, because it can be posed really stupid by the right, I will say that for sure. But when someone says we have to be cautious about our rights, we're giving them away. No matter how stupid the conversation is, we always should stop and listen. Because there might be one day where it seems it's stupid, but it's not. And there are ways that rights can be taken away in secret from us. It's happened before. It can happen again. It's not something that we can pretend doesn't exist. And as a matter of fact, in a natural disaster is when shit happens the most worse, right? When people come in to power grab, there's no vacuum. There's a vacuum of power. They come in to take it, and sometimes, depending on who takes power, that can be really bad. But we've just never faced anything on this massive of a scale. So at the very beginning, when they said this was going on, I didn't pay attention to it much at all when I read some of the stuff in China that before it came this way. And then once it actually started hitting, that's to start taking it more seriously and kind of being aware of it. You got your mask on? What you doing there?
No, I was going to, but she didn't come in.
Okay. But yeah, no, so I get you. Like it really is like my mom and a few people would send me that damn plandemic. You know what I mean? And that you and I have had these talks before, Josh. You know what I mean? Like the way the brain's built, we're truly built for small groups. We're built for small communities. We're built for small towns. And as soon as someone from New York says, "Hey, we got a sickness over here," everybody's like, "Ah, bullshit! It's only gonna affect you. It's not gonna affect us." Like that's the way the brain works. And so as soon as we get in these situations, we find any piece of information that will make us feel better and thinking that it's not true.
Well, part of that too is I think the misinformation that is accessible as well. Like you don't know what to believe anymore. Everything is reported as news, and really even the news channels, everything's just so opinionated now that you're not getting the real story. You're getting somebody's response to the story.
Yeah, you're not getting just the raw information. You're getting that mixed in with their opinions.
Right.
Which is terrible. You can tell right away. Like I stopped reading, or at least not stop reading, but I make a huge mental note when I'm reading an article, and like I'm not even a paragraph in, and I can already tell you the writer's demographic. I can tell you the writer's political leaning. I can probably tell you the writer's age. Like I could tell you so much about the author of an article because they tell you so much in their writing. If you look in the past, that's not how journalism was supposed to be. Journalism is supposed to be something where you put that stuff aside and you try and talk about the facts, the things that everybody on both sides of the camps can agree on, right? And then from that side, you're supposed to make your decision. Another thing too is we used to have 1, 2, maybe 3 newspapers. You know what I mean? So everybody was reading the same stuff. Now you have people, there's every possible site. I mean, I was talking to Todd about this. We could make our own website and start blogging. You know what I mean? And I wanna be able to give people better access to news because all the news that we see is so biased. Like, no wonder people think that the damn pandemic is a lie, because you have news media accidentally putting their foot in their damn mouth. Like, if you just paint the pandemic for what it is, not the scare tactic and show you want to put on, right? Like
exactly.
That will be enough to make people realize, right? Like that this is a concern. But the more you try and sell it, right? It's the same stuff that happens with Trump. Like Trump, you say what you want about the president, but like he obviously has some issues with him as a personality. And if you would just let those things fly, if you wouldn't try to sell people on how bad he is, people might actually recognize that. But because you're like, oh no, you know what? I'm telling you go left. The way humans work, oh, you say go left, I'm gonna go right. I'm gonna go this way, right? Or if you say go right, I'm gonna go left, right? Because we just want to oppose you. Like, we just don't want you to be right. Like that's why facts have to come first, man. Like, facts have to come first. I really wish people thought that way.
Also, it's something that I'm not the first person to say this, but I don't think we're built to just have access to so much information at one time, and you're just scrolling and reading stuff, and you just, like you said, you just Josh, you just don't know what's real and what's not. You don't know how heavy John has mentioned you can kind of figure it out, but you sometimes you just don't know how heavy the opinion is, and you just wonder what if this is real news and what if this is just you just talking.
Yeah.
And
I read a lot.
really
That's
hard.
why.
And I've kind of like, I've stepped away. Like I had weeks where I'm like, I can't, this is so much. I just don't even know what's right anymore. I need to step away and kind of process in my own head. And I think that that's probably a really healthy also habit to have in a time where we're kind of like forced to be inside longer than we're used to.
Yeah. I mean, and on top of that too, like, I mean, just being in your own thoughts in general and kind of realizing what's important to you, and, you know, how you need to dissect the information that you've just, you know, ingested, right? Before before you go and regurgitate it as it was said to you, you need to realize, like, hey, this is the way I process this. Everybody might not process this way.
Yeah.
You know, and then with all the information too, like all the misinformation, it just gets so cluttered, and that's all you think about, right? And then so what they do is they try to charge you emotionally.
Yeah.
They try to give you this, look at this BS person beating this elderly person, right? And like, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's terrible. And wait a minute, this is a racially driven post, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or this is
it's trying to get something out of you.
Come after a Karen or whatever, you know what I mean? So then, and then with all the algorithms on Facebook and Instagram now too, like, you like that video, right? Because it got an emotional response from you, and you're like, yeah, I'm totally against this. I liked it, right? And then they're gonna give you some more. And so now everything that you're seeing follows that principle of what you liked, or you know, what you responded to.
And then you just have tunnel vision.
And now that's all you see. And now so you're just like an emotionally driven individual on this social platform where you're spreading this misinformation or this opinionated information, right? And you're part of the problem without even realizing it. All you're thinking is like, I'm doing good. I'm making a difference. But if it's misinformation, you're worse than, you know, the people that put it out, right? Because now you're continuing the problem.
Yeah. And that's really the thing. Really, you have to. And that's why I think a lot of people don't understand is like, that's one of the points of science, right? People think science is just trying to tell you what to do and trying to go against you, but no, it's trying to look through the noise. It's trying to clear up the picture. It's trying to make sure that all this misinformation, this middle ground, kind of gets taken out of there. We want to just know what is, right? Or know what more likely is. And the misinformation is just too present. Like, I don't know that this is how it runs, but just as you're talking about it, it kind of made me figure out so it's not that you just like something, right? You have the options to like something. I imagine that Facebook categorizes your likes by what type of like you used. And if you use a love versus a hate one or an anger one, right? The angry face. I imagine that they're going to filter what they show you based on the type of things that you like and the type of things, the ways that you like them.
Yeah, the type of response, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I brought this up to my girlfriend at one point. Like, we're about to have dinner, and like, she just shows me this really brutal video on Facebook that she was scrolling through. And I was like, I was in a good mood. We were having a great day. We're about to have some dinner, enjoy something. And Facebook did what Facebook does. You looked at it and it got you emotionally charged. And now you're trying to make me emotionally charged. I was like, our day could have been a lot better had you just put down that phone. Right? Like, because the way that, not to say that the phones are bad at all. Like, and no vilification on her either, because this is something we all do. I do it too. It's the reality of 2020.
We all do it.
Yeah. But those things are made to get a reaction out of you, because that's the business. You don't pay for Facebook. So how do you give them money? By being on there. How do they get you on there? By making you emotionally charged. And I always get annoyed with Google too, to an extent, because Google is a confirmation bias engine. What I mean by that is, if I type vaccinations don't work, I'm going to get a site that tries to prove to me that vaccinations don't work. I'm not going to get a site that tells me the science of vaccinations and then the ideas of the opposing theory, right? I'm not going to get some balanced perspective. I'm going to get what exactly I'm looking for. And if I'm looking to be on the other side, I'm going to get that information. So I tell it to my students a lot. I'm like, y'all are going to try and cheat on my tests with Google. Be careful. Because if you're looking through for a wrong answer through Google, Google's going to give you that wrong answer. And then you're going to come yell at me as to why it was wrong. The book was the better source. You chose the wrong one. Right. And that's the thing. People don't know how to. That's one of the things I love about being an academic is that it teaches you to be very skeptical of your sources, but it doesn't teach you to be like rebellious against sources. You still should read it, but be wise enough to know what's real and what's not. And
just don't completely dismiss it. Like I call it putting things in my pocket. Like if it's something that like it's some concern and it'll maybe change in the future, I'll keep taking a look at it later.
Yeah, like put it on the back burner and have a better opinion of it over time. But we're not built that way, man. Most of us aren't academics. Most of us are everyday Joes, trying to make it through. And
it's behavior like anything else, John.
Yeah. This really showed how many of us, because like to be honest, I'm connected to a COVID group on Facebook to kind of see how people are handling it. And there's so many people who are getting who are trying to give medical advice who have no background. There's so many people who are prescribing things to people they've never met that are like, dude, I told the guys, there was an aspirin tea, Josh. It was like a green tea with something else, and you put like 4 to 5 aspirins in there. And like they're like, yeah, that'll do great. I'm like, who are you to say such a thing?
Death cocktail.
And every day someone's like, hey, you can't be doing this. Hey, be careful. There's liability. You can be charged. If they can find out that you told them to say this and you kill that person, you're going to be going to jail if they can find that you did that. And it's funny to see the everyday average Joe realize that they're being a scientist by accident. They're like, wait a minute. Not all this information is correct. It's not valid. We have to make sure that it's valid. Not everyone can speak. You have to have their credentials. And I'm like, welcome to science. Welcome to academics. Not everybody knows what they're talking about. And so now you have this random high school cheerleader who has never had this type of mentality in her life. Now like trying to guard the Facebook group from uncredentialed people, like non-credentialed people. Like, I'm like, man, it's so crazy how some people are naturally learning what they should have learned in high school, which is that this is what the purpose that science serves. It's not meant to be an authority that tells you what to do. As a matter of fact, if a scientist is forcing you to do something, you should question that scientist. The scientist should be giving you the information to convince you, and then you do it. And it's just so cool to see that. It just sucks to see it have to happen under a pandemic. Like, like this should have happened in a class before a pandemic, and now this is happening in the streets with average Joes who, many of them have the right heart, but many of them don't have the right information. And that's what scares me. That's honestly why I'm doing this podcast a little bit, man. It's because like having these conversations between people like, Todd or you, Josh, and people who come in and out, like you saying that you were skeptical of the pandemic at the beginning, I think is really good of you to say, because so many people don't want to admit when they might have had the wrong idea at a time. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, when you admit that, hey, I had that idea and I've grown.
Yeah, it's growth.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, I guess a lot of people can't dismiss that, but at the same time, to the same point, I think a lot of people were confused whether they should be skeptical or not. You know what I mean? It got to the point where even I was skeptical about being skeptical.
Yeah.
Right. So like one day I might have one view that I'm like, nah, this is all bullshit, and then I'm like, shit, we gotta go get supplies. I gotta get more ammo. I gotta do all this stuff to be ready because shit's about to hit the fan. And then it was like, and then it turned into like, now I'm more worried about the response. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm like, now I'm more worried about the response of people during this pandemic than the actual pandemic itself, because that's what hit us first was everybody going crazy, raiding all the shelves, right?
Removing all the products.
So it kind of starts to get you into this mood where you're like, shit, if the grocery store's out of food, I know I'm not growing my food. You know what I mean? Nobody's growing their food. Where's everybody getting their food, right? So now you're really worried about that amidst this pandemic, right? That you're like, maybe I might get sick. And so, the level of skepticism was just kind of like a roller coaster, and you don't know what to fear, but you know that you're scared, and then kind of just goes away. It dwindled down to almost nothing for us. You know what I mean? People stopped wearing masks. People stopped following the 10 people or less in a establishment rule,
Yeah.
and it kind of just died out. And then all of a sudden, it was like,
Boom.
oh, guys, it's here.
Yep.
And then it was like, wait a minute, now this is like hitting people that I know. Like, man, maybe I should, and I don't think I was ever disrespectful to like the people that were experiencing COVID, right?
No,
But
I don't think you were.
at the same time, I was kind of, voicing my opinion that maybe this isn't as bad as we're all saying. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody's pushing
Yeah.
this towards us, right?
A good skeptical opinion.
But
You should always entertain it. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah, I
say the
think
same, man. Like you didn't do that. I saw your little skeptical post on Facebook. You were never rude. I think you just asked honest questions. Like the one that caught my eye. Sorry to cut you off, Todd. I'll switch to you in a second.
you're good. You're good.
The one that caught my eye was, does anybody know anybody who has COVID? Like I think you would ask that question, and
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
came to mind when you. I didn't post on there because I knew that was going to be one interesting chat section, but I didn't post on there. But I was like, no, you probably don't unless you have family in New York, unless you have family.
yeah,
Like you're not gonna get that right now because it's not here yet because we're not a port of entry. We're kind of in the middle. Like if you'll notice, like the middle states that don't have a high population or high traffic don't have high COVID. So I was like, we're gonna get it later, and sure enough, that's what freaking happened. Is that we had a lull,
yeah.
and then it skyrocketed out of nowhere. The truth is that it takes 2 weeks to show it, but think about it. How many of us want to go to the damn doctor? Like, so it happened Memorial Day for us. I think people got really sick along Mother's Day as well. And so a lot of the kids were probably sick, got over it, gave it to their parents. They got sick, didn't get over it. And then that's the spike that we see. The spike that we're seeing isn't the kids that got over it and are probably still partying, but
It's their parents.
it's their parents who they gave it to and are at home, with the flu or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, so it's really, I don't think there's any shame in being skeptical, man. I think that there's shame in holding to a bad or unvalid point when you know there's better evidence. And right now,
Yeah.
there's no real perfect information. We're just trying to fly. Like this is the fact that we're getting daily statistics, bro. Statistics take months to analyze, to validate, to make sure that the numbers aren't faulty, to make sure that we're getting all the information, to make sure that everybody who had their hands on it actually was, had credentials. Like it takes a long while to get research out. The fact that every day at 350 you can get the fact that every day at 350 you can get stats is ridiculous. And it actually, like, when people were questioning some of those numbers, like you're muted there, yeah. So when people were questioning some of those numbers, or they're like today I saw they said they moved 3,000 from the active cases because they were rounding up and they didn't get the numbers back. And then like the people were like, yeah, you can't trust those numbers. I'm like, guys, the numbers at 303,000, 304,000, whatever. Of that 300 and some thousand, 3,000 cases were accidental misnumbers. Like that is normal statistics. Like that is average stats. Like this is human error. But people are reading those stats as if they're like supposed to be perfect printed numbers. And I'm like, guys, like
They're
Well, it's how they're
finalized.
presented too.
yeah, no, and that it is
Yeah,
because
I mean, it is.
it's what we have. And I think the scientists are presenting it that way because it's what we got. And so the scientists, from their perspective, they're like, this is what we got. We're going to run with what we got. And
Right, but it's not the scientists that are feeding us the information.
yes,
though.
it's
The
the
scientists are
politicians.
feeding the information, and then we're all getting it from social media or political news.
That spin
Right,
it
so
left
then
or
we're like,
right.
they're like 3,000 corona cases were a lie, but somebody who's actually giving you information and saying like, hey, there's 300,000 corona cases, that's 98% accurate.
yeah.
Right? Like that's the information, right? Like that's the full story. But if somebody's telling you, well, there's 3,000 that were a lie and we don't know where they came from and these are fake numbers, then that's what you're gonna listen to. That's what you've digested. That's what you're gonna believe.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with what we're experiencing. As a society, really. I'm sure globally it's happening to some extent, but as far as our experience, like we are getting so much information that is being delivered with the motivation, for whatever that motivation may be, but it always has a motivation. And so we have to take it upon ourselves to kind of discern that information and realize like this isn't 100% accurate. and the way this is being presented to me is much more harmful than the actual information.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think Rogan said it once a long time ago, or someone on Rogan had said it, but that the amount of information we get in a day, or that we have access to in a day, is more than a peasant in the Renaissance had in their whole life. You know what I mean? The amount of news and updated information we get every single day is just, it's so much. It is so much info that there's no way that we could say we're not built to keep up with that stuff, man. We're not there yet. You know, the body evolves very slowly. Dude, how long have we been standing upright and our backs still hurt? You know what I mean? Like our back problems are a major thing for humanity, and we've been standing upright for over 1,000 years. Yeah, no, right here too. Like all back problems. Women have back problems for their breasts. Like that, we are not perfect, and so in this current context, it's like it's like that movie where it's like you're the best we got, and it's like, yeah, but we're not good enough. like we're not perfect yet. You know, like I really do think
we are the best we got.
But we are the best we got. Yeah, exactly. So I want to put forward with that attitude. But Todd, I'd cut you off earlier. Do you have something to add, a question?
Well, it kind of changed a little bit. You were talking about, the post that Josh had made and asking just, I think sensible questions. And you wonder, well, maybe you asked that to somebody that got sick or somebody. And at the beginning, I think my skepticism was more like, okay, like John said, there's a buffer in a sense, right? Like all of these states in between us, how far south we are. But I still had in my back pocket. But then I have family in New York. I have family in Detroit, and I had 3 family members that got COVID. Thankfully, all 3 of them got out of it, which is really great.
Yeah.
But that's when I really just turned the switch and realized that I had to take it more seriously. But I definitely did have skepticism too, and I think, like John said, it's really important to have it because you just don't know. There's so much information to process. And I think for a lot of people, they just don't do it despite having a phone, this $600 device that you spend so much money on, but you don't use it. You don't use the tool,
So many people don't realize it.
It's tedious. I know it's tedious, but if you want to get some real information, you have to go look for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, don't watch I watch the nightly news from CBS. I try not to watch MSNBC or Fox. If I do, I watch both. I try to see what both said. But I really stay away from that. I go to sources online. I go to Reddit and I try to look through multiple sources. What's kind of cool about Reddit is that they'll give you a link, they'll give you a topic, and then if it's a big enough topic, they'll give you every link they can find talking about that topic, so that you can kind of like, okay, what's Fox saying about this? What's MSNBC saying about this? What's CBS saying about this? What's ABC saying about this? What's Politico? But not only that, but you have all these ridiculous third parties too, like Salon, the Daily Beast, like random, like some guy's basement, journalism. Which, hey, this is some guy's apartments podcast, but the thing is that you should you should be able to kind of take the information and where you're getting it from seriously. If I'm saying something, if Josh is saying something, or Todd's saying something, you should take that upon yourself to go research that yourself, right? And create your own opinion. But that's not how we're built. We're built for a small group of 8 to 10 people, and Bob said this, so it must be true. Because why would Bob tell me this? Bob sees me every day, so if it's a lie, Bob would have to face that lie every day. Well, now it's not Bob down the street; it's Bob from 4 states down, who has no connection to you, and you don't really have any inclination to trust Bob. So you're gonna fear Bob, and that's really where we're at. Is this? I don't know you. You're probably wrong.
I think also something else I'll add is that people, the vocabulary that I see a lot of, just people around me, just in general, is like, oh, well, last I checked. It's like, okay, well, when did you last check? Like, when did you last see these numbers? Was it a week ago? Was it 2 weeks ago? Was it a month ago? And where was the source? Did you just see it on a random Facebook post or Twitter? Like, when you last checked, that doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't reassure me. But because John says we're in these smaller bubbles, maybe when you last checked is when your best friend told you, and you were okay with that because that's for you a solid information source.
Well, it's like
it's weird.
It is. It's like I know for a fact when global disasters happen, a lot of our friends go to either me or my friend Josh that we game with, because we're the ones who always like plunge into the web, and if there's something going on, we're gonna look for it. And like if I hear a plane crash happened, I don't watch the news. I go find the plane crash video.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that that plane actually crashed and that plane actually had that number and that it actually had that many people, you know, like, and that's just something not everybody's willing to do. And it's like my mom's like, where do you get your news? And I'm like, it's so hard to explain to her, you know, I'm like, I use Google, but not Google. Like I use Google to search and then I filter through it all myself and I have to make an opinion. And my mom's not like that. She's like, nah, tell me what's up. I'm like, damn it. That's the exact problem. Like, that exact is the reality is the problem where we just don't have the energy to search, man. We really don't. All right, but I do want to say we are getting to like an hour and 50 minutes. I want to make sure that we're not taking too much of Josh's time. We are getting.
No, I probably need to get going.
That's good.
We ramble on, but it's fun.
But it was a good conversation. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff, though. We didn't really have any dead
I
air.
had a lot of fun with you guys.
Yeah,
thank
real.
you. Yeah.
So what I will say is that we're gonna go ahead and stop there, Josh. Old School Iron, right?
Yes, let people know. Yeah.
Yeah. So Old School Iron out in Kingsville, Texas. A good friend of mine, Josh Watrous. A man I met basically skidding deer in my yard. But no, a really good business owner and really good man on this. Thank you for taking time with us. And would you come back, Josh? I'm curious.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely enjoyed the conversation and you guys pretty faces. So
thank you.
Thank you.
For those listening, we are talking on a like we do have video of each other. So we don't have access to that, but that might be something we put forth in the future. But Josh, thanks. Stay on the line, but thanks for being on.
John, Todd, thank y'all very much. I'll see y'all soon.
Yes, sir.